Hi everyone. Today we'll look at the issues of vulnerabilities in software and software developments. Before we get to this lecture notes, I'm going to show to you the blackboard. As you can see, according to the timestamps, October 1st, there is a lecture notes, and then IPYNB. This is a Python notebook. The code is available here so that you can click this and download on your the laptop. And when we work on the Google Colab, you need to bring that into the Google Colab. I believe I already included that here. For example, when I to reconnect, this means I already the upload this IPY, and then there is a homework assignments. So I'm going to this to visible to you guys. So we'll get to this homework assignments a little later. All right, so back to our lecture notes. As I said, this is the extra service to you guys. This is a completely online course, but I am going to give it to you. I try to give you the record for each week. When there is some topics that may not need extra explanations and it doesn't need any additional the hands-on lab, then I may not give you the recordings. Other than that, I will try to. Okay. So this is the vulnerabilities. Software vulnerabilities comes from software incompleteness. If, as you develop software, if the software is not completely consider all the cases, then that is the security holes. So attackers can enter into that security holes. So you have to consider all the cases when you develop a software. And also, if your software runs interactively with the user involvement, then you have to validate user values and sanitize also. And then finally, file extension spoofing. Somebody give to you the file the extension, for example, JPEG files. So the file name is something dot JPEG. Then you believe, oh, this is image files. So that you can, if you trust that image file, then you can simply click on that file. But actually, if that file is not JPEG, but some other malicious code, in other words, if it is an executable files, then that is some threats. That is the vulnerabilities. So we would consider those. Why input validation and sanitation needed? Mainly because user interaction is not really trusted. Some user intend to attack, some user accidentally. If your software does not cover all that issues, validate user input, and also when user enter input, you need to make a additional module to sanitize user inputs. So all such things I know it is a hassle. It requires a lot of work. If you compare that with the core engine of your software, then all that errands works, additional extra works, the size of that work is a lot more than the main core codings. Okay, but that is important. Unless otherwise, your software is not invulnerable. It is vulnerable. It may be another threat. So why vulnerable? Motivating example here. Say, enter username, and then enter your age. To remember what happened in the year of your age. If you do not remember, then something, right? But if you do not, what if somebody enter something other than number? I know usually user enter a number for age, but there may be the case accidentally or intentionally some other characters may be entered, right? That type of things needs to be validated and also sanitized. So insecure codings may be from the case if you do not sanitize and validate user inputs. If you do not ensure the types of files, if it is external resources, particularly if it is external resources and data comes from internet, then you need to always sanitize it, right? You do not know what type of data comes from the internet, like communications. So we do some of the hands-on. We have lots of hands-on examples. So we're going to work on that in Google Colab. Before we get to Google Colab, if your code contains these two functions, eval or exec functions, then that is some of you have to be aware the potential issue that comes from the eval function or execute functions. Okay, so this is an example. So we'll practice this. Actually, I put here the key difference between eval and exec function is that eval usually takes some of the expression as an arguments. Okay, so within that expression may be another threads, then you may have some problem, right? For example, UI is defined by this string. This is simply string, right? But if you evaluate this string, then it should access some of the password information, right? And also there is the string. If you say eval, then what this string will do is we import operating systems dot remove some important files. So simply eval for that input files. the effect of this evaluation is the deletion of one of the important files. So that is a vulnerable, right? Like here, simply someone entered some data so that you say eval. In your code, eval, evaluation of user input string, but if user input this kind of string, then it shows the password information from your Linux operating systems. So first two examples about eval, and the next, the third example is about exec. So this is another string, and then while true pass, then this continually work, right? Rather than I'm using this on the Google Colab, I am going to bring up here regular terminals. So I am starting the Python, and when I define UI, what I'm trying to do is, okay, when I define UI, so UI is nothing but this, okay? Then when I try to do eval, in my code, user input string I want to evaluate. Soon as I do this, my program does not know what is this, right? If my program doesn't do, for example, the validate user input data or sanitize the user inputs, we simply take user input and evaluate that. Then what happens is that it shows the password information, right? That type of things. Or similarly, we may delete something. The second example. Or if we do while pass loops, for example, this is a user input equals their while loop, while true, then pass. That is user input, just like that. And then one of your coding, if you say, hey, I want to execute user input, give me some statements so that I will execute it. If I do this, then this is infinite loop. It iterates forever. Okay, watch this. It runs forever, right? So that is the problem. So you have to stop this. Or if you want to see it more clearly, then you can say print, maybe I would just say print another string and then execute that variable that it runs forever. This is an infinite loop, right? Because it prints all the time. I interrupt that. So that type of things, if you include this and that functions in your developments, then you have to be very careful, right? That's what I want to say. Okay, back to our Google Colab. Okay, I opened Google Colab IPY MB files, notebook, Python notebooks. And I want to read this. So I'm going to share something with you here. For example, given this data, then you can sort that. So run this, it sort. Okay. How to see the sorted list? You can see, I guess, print. Many ways that you could do, but you simply do it original data sets. Okay. If you do it, then you can see it. So it is nicely sorted. If somebody said, oh, I want to assign this to another value, another variable temp, and I want to run temp, then temp does not have that information, right? For example, temp, and then if we hit returns, so temp does not have anything. The first print statements, second print statements, which is this. I believe this is something that I explained already, right? So this is what the incompleteness comes from if you do not take care of everything. If you want to sort, then usually sort can be done by this is the variable, that variable, and then sort will be used as a method. So variable dot method sort, so that this variable can be sorted. So in this case, that is sorted. But we do not know how it is sorted, right? Is it going to be sorted based on sum? This guy is sorted based on the first element, 7 and 9 and 12, right? But if you want to sort it based on, for example, the summations. So I want to say, if you, here we have 3 elements, here 2 elements. So some total number, then in this case 20. In this case, I think that is maybe 29. In this case, that is 22. So if you sort this, then 21st and 22 and 29. Second one first and third one second, and the first one the last. This kind of things may happen when we do not consider all cases. The software that you develop should cover entire cases, all the cases. If we want to do sort, then you need to do sort based on first element based on, first of all, if it is a list of single elements, single elements means like this, then it can be done very easily. What if it has a nested list like this? Then you have to see there are many ways that you can sort. Are you going to do that based on sum, or are you going to do that based on average, based on largest number, based on minimum number, based on count, all different things, right? So that you can expand, you can cover all the cases. This is not really critical example, but this is to illustrate the case that you need to cover a lot more situations if it is sorting programs. But there are lots of different cases, different the business logics, so that you could consider. In any cases, then you need to consider to all the cases, which means make your software complete. Okay, completeness of software development is really, really important. Other than that, that is a vulnerabilities. Input validations. This is for input validation, like we learned last week. Regular expression. Expression is really, really important. Okay, for example, if we want to validate the username, then if we one of the policies that we admit username is alphanumeric values, lowercase a through z, and uppercase a through z, and then number a through 9, and then starting with anywhere there is an underscore. How many characters of this? It should be 3 characters at least, and then no more than 20 characters. Okay, in this case, we can say that is matched. So among these, let's say if I comment this first and then run this, I have to run this first so that this guy understands the valid username. And after that, when I run this, first one true because Yoon 4 characters, they start with all the characters. That's fine. So when I do open the second ones, I believe it is also true. When I open the third one, when I run it, then it should false. It said false. Why? Because the quantities of the characters should be at least 3, because in this case 2. But if I say A and N, then it should be true, right? Something like this. Validate your owns. You can do simply, for example, validate username. For example, my name is Mercy University, then that is true, right? But if my name, for example, underscore Mercy University, that is also true because underscore is possible according to this regular expression. Okay. What else that I need to do? If I say, for example, pound and Mercy University, then of course that is not true, right? This is not a valid number. This is very, very simple example to validate user input, right? If user input is for username, then and our policy is to count only the number of characters, then we can make this kind of regular expression so that this runs all the times. Well, some of the cases are length and format checkings. For example, some of the password, the length of a password should be at least 8 characters and then less than 20, and it should match A through Z and 09 and this kind of characters allowed. Okay, so that if I say 1, 2, 3 merge, I need to define this first. Validate password, and when I call that password with these arguments, then it says true. But what if I said somewhere here merge exclamations cyber? I believe there is no exclamation, right? See how it works. When I run this, it says false, right? So to sanitize and validate user input, we better use regular expression. That saves a lot of our codings, right? although, yeah, you first understands and fully utilize the characteristics of regular expressions. Type checkings also, for example, give me the how old are you? Then it should be, for example, integer first, and then if we interviewed somebody to hire, so that person is to be a employee. Suppose our policy is there's no specific the age discrimination, but at least it should be 18 years old, but not older than 90 years old, which is good, right? So if I do, so we have to define this function first, and then validate age 11, then it should say false, right? But if I say 89, then it says okay, right? If I say 18 years old, then it says okay. Boundary checkings, similar to that. And the mandatory field, for example, ensure that all the required fields are present and contain valid data. Mandatory field, if the value comes in, then field is not null, should not be null. And then field.strip. So you need to exclude all the white spaces. Once you eliminate all strips, if it is still empty, it should not be empty, right? That's what it is. So if it says, so I'm going to run this, so that is defined, and it asks me to enter, so that if I say Yoon, then it should do okay. But when I do here, for example, I want to simply hit enter, then because it is not null. More than that, not only that, but if I do white space all the time, right, and hit enter, still false. Not because of a single, not because of empty. When we put space, then that is not empty, right? It in ASCII code, that is some special code. Still, it take that into considerations by running this method strips. Okay, then all the white space will be eliminated. Let me show to you how that happens. For example, here, and then if we say strip, then strip is not in between. Strip is only before it starts and after it starts, after it ends. So when I do space, all the white space and ending with lots of white space, then it stripes all the white space before any starts and all the white space after it ends, then they all go, right? So if I say only white space, and then it says nothing, right? Okay, now we have homework assignments. write a Python code to identify email and web URL. So find out those. Okay. And the users input sanitizations. Escape special character. If you're on Flask, right now, I believe Flask is not available, so don't worry. We cannot run this. Sanitize. Because of that, right? Let's see if we can. I believe it is not. Flask cannot import name escape from Flask. Flask is available, right? But escape import name escape is not. Cannot import from Flask. Flask is there, but okay. So let's forget about that. Okay, parameterized queries. SQL queries. SQLite 3 is available here on Google Colab. So you can define execute queries. So given query and parameters, then you can execute it. So first thing that you can do is you connect example.db cursor and query and parameters. What we want to enter here, execute queries, query is formed here. Insert into users username, email, values that. So we enter that there. So if we execute this, and if I say John, username and email, and merge.edu, and then there is an error, sanitize HTML is not defined. Sanitize, this is not defined. Yeah, we have that here. So let's see, let's forget about that sanitize. Okay, so simply I want to put here equals username and password. So enter, and it says no such files of user, right? What that means is that we have to define the database first. So I made that database, so I'm going to show that to you. Okay. So step one, I'm going to do this for you guys, okay? All right, so do this, execute queries. And I realized that we don't do this, but simply we can do I can include this. So here sanitize HTML. So HTML escape text that escapes, so that we can do, this is HTML escape. So this is not the same as that, right? But anyway, so what I will do is execute query. So let's try to run. Execute query missing one params, because this is execute queries. Parameters. So we can say param, we initialize this. Param equals empty. Okay, and run. Actually, this guy should be defined before we use that, right? So I want to define it up here, maybe just after that. So define it first, so that we can run John and email merce.edu. And now it went through, right? Now if we want to do, see if any one of these, then you have make another query. Query 2 equals select star from user and execute that query. Then actually it runs. So now you want to display it, right? The way that you can display is this. So you can do here, print users in the database. You want to do fetch all. Okay, so fetch all. I believe that is, yeah, fetch all. That is another statement here. Yeah, we need to do, let's make this. Okay, so instead of this, I want to make a one, I want to define. So fetch all is a function. So we can open that database and get the cursor and execute select star from all users, and then we make a fetch all from these executions and assign that to rows, okay, and close and return rows. So this guy return rows. But if we want to write them all at once, then I believe you have to say here for row in cursor fetch all, and then print row. And I would not say this. I would not say anything over this. You can simply say you don't need to say all of this. Okay, so you can run this, then you can see, because we entered John and Jae-Yoon Mercy. So that John and Jae-Yoon Mercy, and then the first one here is, I think that comes from here. ID is auto increment. So first entered user will have an ID 1. That's what it does, right? So if we do this more, for example, Peter, and then pk at gmail.com, and then if we run this, then we have number 1 John, number 2 Peter, and so on and so forth. So basically here in this case, sanitized HTML, that should be properly sanitized. So I am going to put this, I'm going to open this and sanitize HTML. We have here, okay, so we have a sanitization here, and in escape given text, if we have HTML escape, then what it does is, let's say we try Sam, and then email, if we say Sam at gov. This is not email, right? But see what happens if somebody entered like this as an email. Then let's see if it is, oh, it is entered. It's not sanitized. It should be, right? Username and email. Email should be sanitized. Sanitize HTML. So sanitize HTML. It wasn't really do escape. What does this? Replace special character HTMLs. Oh. It doesn't verify the email itself, but it verifies, for example, if we put here this kind of things, then it is sanitized, right? So let's test it here. Let's see, sanitize, and then if we put here, yeah, something like this, then this kind of HTML tags will be replaced by like this. This is a replace. That is what this escape does, right? It says replace a special character %, less than, greater than sign to HTML safe sequence. If so, rather than keeping this HTML tag itself, we want to replace it as a special character like this. So the normal character is okay. Number 1 is okay. But tag is the only issue. Okay? So for example, say email, and it says email. Open email and close email. If it runs, then something like this. This is, I think every tag of this can replace this. That is what, that is kind of sanitizations, okay? For some reasons, if someone tried to catch HTML tags, therefore somehow we want to hide it. Okay, remove malicious code. Let's say one of the tag that contains executable files, then we can put their script. Script takes the executable files. Assume this is executable files. Although this is not, this is simply text. But if this is executable files, put them in this script and close script. If there is this kind of things, then we have to remove that. To remove, see here, remove script tags, then we need to substitute script to only white space. Okay. So for example, this is the data. So with the string, this is one string. Inside of the string, there is a script. Let's say this script is try to execute some malicious code inside. So whatever within this script, open script and close script, we can put there some of the execution code. Then when we evaluate this, then it will be executed, like eval. Then it will be executed. Okay. See here almost. So eval data, line 2. So because of this script, this guy give us a warning, right? This Google Colab already understand because there is a script. So this is malicious. That's what it is. So if we do not have this, if we do not evaluate this script, only sanitize this. After sanitize, and then if we evaluate, let's say after sanitize, we can say that rather than data. Okay. When I try to evaluate the data as is with where there is a script tag, then it gives me some of the warnings. But after I do sanitize the data and I call it DAT and evaluate that DAT, then it should work, right? Sanitize. Oh, we have to do sanitize here. Sanitize, and if we do this, then it's okay, right? But this guy already know if that has this. All right. Canonicalization. We convert the input data to simplest form to avoid bypassing validating check to the. So what it does here? Oh, we stripped something. Let's say this is the data. This data has a long line, right? And some of data here, there's uppercase and the lowercase. If we want to make it a canonical, therefore I want to put them in one line of string, and yeah, or make it all lowercase. So run this, canonize the input, and if we run this, then this whole thing can be converted into like this. Okay. Finally, file extension spoofing. As I said, each file has a file meta information. So the first few bytes indicates the types of a file. Okay, if that takes, for example, FF, D8FF, this is a hexacode, then that is a JPEG signature. So if you just said, hey, this is a JPEG files, I want to open it, then before you open it, you have to check if you have to read this file, real actual JPEG files, and then check the first few bytes match with this, if this is JPEG signatures. Okay, that type of things needs to be sanitized. Therefore, file extension spoofing can be avoided. We don't really do exercise here, but I'll give you the idea how you can do that. Why we don't do here practice? That is because although I have a file on my laptop, but this code runs on the cloud, right? Unless you upload that files, this cannot be running. Okay, to upload that files, that is another the extra code is needed, which may not be directly related to this secure codings, so we skip it. All right. So other than that, I wanted to do that homework assignment set, but I think we already sent to you these homeworks somewhere in, let me check. If I ask you to do that homework already. I think I did this here already, right? This is very similar to that one's. Write Python code to read the text and extract all the files. RE mode. So that is similar to the homework here. I believe that is it URL or email? Oops. Email address only, or there is a URL, so email and URL together. Okay, so I wanted to do, very similar to the work that you already did, but here in this code, you have to do both together. Okay, email and URL. Here URL and email. The previous, the homework assignments for your regular expressions, I ask you to do separately, but here in these examples, this homework number 4, right? I'll ask you to do both of those. In order to do that, come here, also homework number 4, that I gave you this. So you can copy this into your, here, open up a new notebook on Google Colab. So you copy it, right? And then you homework 4, date. So you can put here your name, say John Yoon, and date. It could be October 5th, 2025, and then problem, so that you can do some of the work here, right? And as you can see, so already given some of those, right? So you can do and copy that, and here. Although we didn't do anything, but you simply runs, then it gives you, say, enter URL, and then you can do abc.html def dot ggg, then enter your email, or what happens is enter you. Oh, this is what I entered, right? But you should say whether it is a URL, legal URL, or legal email. That type of things needs to be done, right? Your coding should continue. In this case, it stops here. This is a user entered. So I want you to complete that. The way that exemplified here. For example, if user entered www that, then you should say, you have to say, this is a near URL expression, but it is not in this for America. If you just said merge study due, then merge study due is a legal URL. Or if you enter this, then it says this is an illegal email. Why? Because maybe because of email, then it should not start with the number. It started with the character, I guess, right? Oh, that is not. Here, if it says 1, 2, 3, that, then it says a legal email. That is not the case. I think that because of this, right? The host name after @ then it should not end. It should not end with underscore. If it has underscore, then it still continue. So XX underscore Y, then it is fine, but XX underscore, then that is illegal. That type of things, yeah, needs to be implemented. If somebody says this is email, you entered this, then your program see that is a near email expression. Near email expression, or legal email, or illegal email, or near URL. And then you need to, if it is near, then you need to say why it is near. Because it is not in this top level domain. Because www. Okay, that's so to accommodate all of these sample runs, you need to do more here. Okay, that is the homework assignments. All right, thank you. I'll see you later.